Hey YouTube, Rotor here, back with a Traptrix combo tutorial for you guys. This is going to be a little more in-depth than usual, I think, just because there's so many different nuances between different hand combinations, but I'll try to make it as quick as I can. I'll be showing off what Mantis plus a trap card and Myrmelio plus a trap card, and then I'll do each of those in addition with a Pudica and in addition with an Exceed, because this is kind of the basic stuff is just starter plus trap card, because you need a trap to discard off your Holtea, but otherwise, these on their own are good, but with Pudica or with Exceed get much better. So I figured I'd show off all those different combos because they are just a hair different from each other. So yeah, that's what I figured I'd show off. So let's get started. We'll start with Mantis plus Trap card. So if we start with this, we can just normal summon on our Mantis, effect search a Traptrix monster. We will be searching our Arachnacampa, link off our Mantis into our Traptrix Sera. Arachnacampa then can special summon itself to trigger our Sera to set a Holtea from our deck. Holtea can then activate by discarding our Nightmare, special summon. That will trigger our Sera again to special summon from deck our Dionea. Dionea effect can then reset our trap hole from the graveyard, and then we can overlay our Dionea and our Holtea into a Rafflesia. So with just Mantis plus a trap card, we can make a Rafflesia, a trap hole that we had in our opening hand, and an Arachnacampa to protect our back row, along with Sera to just snowball our advantage. So this is, I'd say, pretty good. 2 interruptions plus some protection plus some snowballing just off of a 1.5 card combo. So I'd say that's pretty good. Let's get into the next one with our Myrmelio. Let me just get this out of the way. Let's keep those over there. So yeah, let's get into Myrmelio plus the trap hole. So this one is a little different because Myrmelio can normal summon, activate, and search us our Holtea off the bat. So then we can use that to go into our Sera. Then we can just set our Holtea, activate Holtea, discarding our trap right away to special summon. And then Sera can trigger, special summoning out our Dionea. Dionea can then trigger to special summon or to reset our Trap Hole Nightmare. And then because Sera hasn't activated on a monster effect yet, we can trigger it on Dionea and grab ourselves another Trap Hole. So we can just search whichever. So then we've got a second Trap Hole, and then these two into a Rafflesia. So a little bit different from the Mantis combo, but still good. It is, instead of Rafflesia Trap Hole Protection, it's Rafflesia Double Trap Hole, which is also very good. I think arguably better, but that's if your opponent doesn't have tons of back row removal. But even if they do, you've still got your Rafflesia to trigger your Sera and all sorts of stuff. So 3 interruptions off of Myrmelio and any trap card, which, believe it or not, the deck has a lot of trap cards, so that will be happening pretty often. So yeah, that's how the basic 1.5 card combos work. Just starter plus a trap card. Pretty simple and pretty effective starts. And again, even if they don't seem like insane end boards, Sera just helps you snowball super hard. So that you slowly start amassing a bigger and bigger board while removing your opponent's board as you go along. Because it is an advantage deck after all, so it does take a little bit, but it's nice to know that you still have some pretty solid end boards. But yeah, so let's next go into checking out what they can do with an extra card. So let's try our Mantis plus our Nightmare, and then add in our Pudica. So with this, we will normal summon our Pudica first and grab us our field spell. Traptrix Garden. We can then link our Pudica into a Sera. That's not an extra monster zone. We can then activate our Garden, giving us an extra normal summon for Traptrix monsters. So we can then normal summon our Mantis. Effect of Mantis can search us our Arachnicampa. That will trigger Sera to grab us our Holtea. Holtea effect can discard our trap card to special summon. That will trigger Sera to grab our Dionea to reset our trap hole. Then we can, I most often will go Holtea and Mantis into a Redoer, and then special summon Arachnicampa. It's important we do that first because Arachnicampa locks us into insects and plants. So then once we special that, we can overlay into a Rafflesia. So with the addition of Pudica, we have ended instead on a Rafflesia, a Nightmare, a Redoer to put a card our opponent controls on top of the deck, and sorry, after we use our Redoer, it will put our Holtea in the graveyard to special summon back our Pudica and banish an opponent's monster. So it is a little bit more layered interactions because it's 2 monsters plus a trap plus a graveyard trap effect to have a lot of different ways of interacting, which I think is pretty good. And I mean, 2 specific monsters and any trap card is again not super difficult to draw in the deck, seeing as you have a million trap cards. But yeah, and Redoer is just super good, and it will keep coming back, and occasionally it'll steal a spell or a trap off your opponent's deck and just get extra advantage in the future. So it is pretty good. Just a 4 interruption board off of just our 2.5. Let's hop into what it does with Myrmelia. Just clear this, Myrmelia, Pudica, and a trap card. So, obviously, we will start with our Pudica, searching our garden, link off into our Sera, activate our garden, giving us our extra normal summon. Normal summon Myrmelia to search a trap card. We can just search our Holtea, because then Sera can trigger and just set us whichever trap. I usually go with, I usually like to go with Nightmare and Floodgate because those are probably my 2 favorites. But you can go with whichever the matchup goes with. But then we can set our Holtea activate to discard and special summon. Sera can then special summon our Dionea. Dionea can reset our trap hole. And then I usually here like to go for actually a Pinguicula, because then we can Pinguicula detach to search our Arachnocampa, link these two into our Calaria, because then Calaria, when we activate one of these two traps, we can just reset it, and during the end phase, which I think we can go to the end phase then, to special summon Pinguicula from our graveyard. So we have two trap cards, one of which is going to be reset, which we can activate again next turn, but it is keeping our advantage. Along with, we have Pinguicula, which when we trap hole one of our opponent's cards, they can get attached to Pinguicula, which is nice against graveyard effects, like steal your opponent's Flamberge and stuff. And during our opponent's main phase at some point, whether it's in response to background removal or if it's just at some point as early as we can special summon our Arachnocampa on our opponent's turn, triggering our Sera to set us another trap card. Which I think that's probably the best way to do it, is to just leave the Arachnocampa in hand until opponent's turn and then do that. But I think that's still a good end board. It's a very different end board than the others have been so far, because it is just two trap cards essentially, but we also need to remember that we can Holtea for Pudica, so that is a third interruption, and also Sera will be summoning another monster from your deck, and it will be setting another trap from your deck and just snowballing. So it is 3 interruptions, but it has a lot more snowball potential, especially with Calaria on board and Pinguicula to steal opponent's graveyard cards. So I think this is not as crazy of a first turn board, but a much better going forward throughout turns 2, 3, 4 board. But yeah, that is Pudica plus Myrmelio. Let's hop into our Exceed combos. So we'll grab our Mantis, a trap card, and Exceed. So Exceed is very nice because it is just an instant rank 4, which works out very nice. But yeah, let's Mantis to search us our Arachnocampa, link it off to Sera, and then we get to trigger our Exceed to special summon this to its link zone, and then it can trigger itself to special summon a second. Then at this point I usually like to go for just an early Rafflesia. It is nice with Parallel Exceed, especially, that we can make an early Rafflesia. This is on our 5th summon. So if they happen to have Nibiru, which unfortunately some of these combos do get hit by Nibiru, assuming they can do it before you make Rafflesia, because Rafflesia can send our Gravedigger's Trap Hole to negate Nibiru. So this is Nibiru protection. Then at this point, we've got our Arachnocampa, which we can special summon. That will trigger our Sera to grab us our Holtea. Holtea effect to discard and special summon. Sera can then trigger on Holtea to special summon our Dionea. Dionea can grab back our Trap Hole, and then our Holtea and Dionea can go into a second Rafflesia. So then we have 1 Trap Hole, double Rafflesia, and protection, which doesn't seem like a ton, but 2 Rafflesia is, I think, a lot better than 2 Trap Holes because they're a lot more difficult to get rid of. They are fairly big defense monsters, and they will be triggering Sera effect to get us more trap cards. It is kind of a wonky one with Mantis just because it would be nice to be able to go into our Redoer, but Arachnicampa locking us is mostly fine. So yeah, that is our Mantis plus Exceed combo. Let's get into our last one, our Myrmelio Exceed. Alright, let's just Exceed, Trap Hole, Myrmelio. So, we will start off by normal summoning our Myrmelio. Myrmelio effect, grab us our Holtea, link off our Myrmelio into a Sera. Exceed effect can trigger, special summon another, and then overlay into, again, our early Rafflesia. We then have our Holtea, which we can set and then activate by discarding. Special summon, effect of Sera, can special summon back our Dionea. Dionea can grab our Nightmare, and because we haven't triggered Sera yet, we can grab another Trap Hole. So we can grab a second, and then we can go these two into, because we're not locked, a Redoer. So with Myrmelio plus Parallel, it is, I think, a lot better because we then get 2 Trap Holes and a Rafflesia and a Redoer, which is super, super nice. Sorry about that, guys. I'm not feeling the greatest at the moment. But yeah, then we've got 4 points of interaction, plus we'll be triggering both effects of Sera, and when we use a Redoer, we don't have a Pudica engrave, but we do have Holtea to summon Myrmelio, which can blow up a Smaller Trap, which can be very useful. Otherwise, yeah, we could, after using a trap, Holtea back Dionea to grab another trap back. But yeah, either way, this is 4 interruptions plus snowballing, which is very good in my book. So I think that is the last of it. Yeah, it's a little more in-depth than the other combo tutorials just because there's so many different ways, even like your 2 1-card, like pseudo 1-card starters do play slightly differently because Myrmelio is getting your Holtea earlier, so it makes it a little bit different. So I figured I'd show off kind of a myriad of different ways you can go throughout combos, because obviously this is a very diverse end board deck depending on whatever your hand is. But yeah, I think that's all I was going to show here. I think that'll do it for this video. All right, this is Rogue Tier, signing out.